Welcome to Coding with bcbrian. We're in Plunker still. We're using this dice one that we've been working on. We've recently just pretty much nixed our use of a style sheet right now in favor of using uh, Bootstrap from a CDN, which is a place where code is hosted for us to use and reference. So we're now going to talk about unit testing. I have another Plunker set up, which I'll include in this link, which is set up for unit testing. So if you were starting from scratch and wanted to just fork this to start working on your project, that's great. But we're going to be using it to copy and paste information from to get things started. So here, the first thing we're going to pull over is another style sheet that's for Mocha, which is the testing framework. So real quickly, we have Mocha, which is the test runner, which runs the tests. Then we have Chai and Sign-in, which are used to validate the results of the test. And we'll talk about that more in a little bit. But so we have Mocha that runs the tests, Chai and Sign-in that's used to validate the tests. So let's copy the CSS over. And so we're going to bring that in right after Bootstrap. And then we're getting Mocha, Chai, and Sign-in all brought over. And actually, I'm going to copy up from here because these are technically not my scripts. They are library scripts. So I'm going to just add a my here. And probably not be so proper just to be so a little bit consistent. So make that library styles. We'll get rid of our style sheet. Oh, we'll keep it. And we'll just say my styles. There we go. So now we've brought over Mocha, we've brought over Chai and Sign-in. And now we've got to do some setup for them. For Mocha, it has some setup. We have a UI that we're going to be using and a reporter. So the reporter is telling it where to put the results, and we're saying use the HTML result option, which puts it out in the HTML like this. So we'll see how that's going to change our layout in just a moment. So we will have this run in between the scripts. And then the other thing we need is we need this div that with an ID of Mocha, because that's where it puts the results of the test. So if we scroll all the way to the bottom, right before the end of our div, we're going to put the results of our test there. And then we need this little bit of code to tell Mocha to run. And they have that at the body. So after all the code is loaded and everything's there, then it's going to run. Another option would be to use the window.onload function and put that in there. But to avoid writing the extra code for that, we'll just put it at the bottom of the body. Then this will run after this has been created and all of this has been initialized and all of our scripts is run. So it's the last thing that'll happen essentially on the page. Now if we inspect it, perfect. All right. So you can see right here that we have these passes, failures, durations. Okay, this is how many passed tests we have, how many failed tests we have, and the durations. So one more thing we're going to do is go to this test spec file, and we're going to copy it, and we're going to make a new file called script.js. Sorry, and we're going to do script.spec.test. Script.spec.js. So what this is doing is we have our script file that we're creating. We have we're telling it this is the specifications for this file, what it has to pass, its tests, and then it's a JS file. So we'll say that that's okay. We're going to paste it in here, and then we'll go back to our index.html, go to this script file, and what we're going to do is do a .spec. And now we'll comment out this line of code because it doesn't know what test is. And now the test is printing out down here, and we get a failure. It says test is not defined. Okay, so that's okay. We'll get rid of that, and we'll put test. So now the test passed. So what is happening here? We're getting the assert from Chai that we've created, and we've made it a global so that we can access it pretty much anywhere. We're then doing a describe, which is just the open part of the test, is to tell us what are we testing. So describing it. So this was some old code. So what we're describing here is a default test. What's it describing? It's describing how a test works. And then the it is the actual test where the assertion should happen. So we kind of write it so it's readable. So it should show that test equals test. And it's getting a check mark because we're asserting, and we're asserting an equal that test equals test. And if it didn't, it would return this string. So I could say test did not equal test. So this would print out if it failed. So if we said Jimmy, it says assertion error, test did not equal test. I'll make this just a bit bigger. See that a bit better. And then all of this other stuff is telling you where stuff is happening at. Where the errors are occurring. So if we pull this open, we can see that in script spec.js line 12. That's where the assertion is happening. Line 12 in our script spec.js, and it's not equaling. So that's a real quick breakdown of how tests work, and we've added the test framework to our file. So now we're going to start writing some tests and doing some test-driven development. Good luck coding.